Hi everybody, Michael here. Today's video, I want to debunk this recent popular theory that World War II was not worth fighting for. And some even go as far as to say we fought the wrong enemy. And I'm going to debunk that in this video, so let's go. Okay, so recently, especially on the more right wing of British politics, a lot of people are coming up with the concept that World War II was not worth fighting. And there was a World War II veteran on, I think it was ITV, a few months ago, basically saying that he feels like all his effort of him and his comrades was a waste of time because of the state of the country. Now, the thing he's correct about is that the state of the country is a mess. And everybody who says that is correct. And that, yes, the UK has been a disaster since World War II for the most part. But what they've got wrong is the concept that World War II was not worth fighting. And I believe 100% they did the right thing and we did the honourable and noble thing. But the mistake we made is that we failed to continue to protect freedom and liberty. So they fought against socialists and weird ethno-nationalists or racial supremacists and psychopaths who basically tried to kill a load of Jews. So they were a bunch of wrong-uns. The Nazis, Hitler, was a wrong-un and the Nazis were a bunch of wrong-uns. Make no mistake about it. And we were right to fight and defeat them. What's gone wrong since is that we failed to continue to protect liberty. You know, freedom and liberty isn't something you win a war and it's maintained forever. It's something that constantly needs to be fought against. And the problem we made is we won World War II and the consensus is that everything's fine now and that we've become essentially lazy and we've been subverted. And one of the most dangerous things was the ideology. You know, the Nazis were essentially socialists, almost communists. And this ideology has been prevalent in the world for hundreds of years. And it's never going to just disappear in a war, especially when a lot of Russia, communism continued. And then you have a lot of ideologues who continued it. I mean, let's face it, since then, the European Union has basically been promoting communism. And this idea and concept of communism has been, that war has carried on. Even though we defeated the Nazis, the ideology of communism, which takes away people's freedoms and liberties, that has carried on. We never defeated it and it's never going to be defeated. It's a constant battle against evil. And we failed to protect liberty since World War II. And I want to just debunk these ideas. You get a lot of these whack job ethno-nationalists who are becoming very popular, like Nick Fuentes in America, Steve Laws in the UK. They have this idea of, yes, just because our countries have been, we've been colonized through migration, and there's the Great Replacement and all that, which has been a disaster. Make no mistake, I agree with that point. But they conflate that with the idea that Hitler had these ethno ideas, but his was some weird theology. Whereas wanting to protect your own people, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have weird theologies about sort of supremacy and you have to put Jews in camps, put other people in camps and that they're inferior and all this stuff, that's when you start going into weird territory. But the Nick Fuentes, Steve Laws type try to create the narrative that if we went along with Hitler, everything would have been fine. But as I said, he was a wrong-un. But they try to make out that Hitler was some kind of hero, that he's actually the hero and Churchill was the villain of the war. And that if Britain didn't get involved, or Britain and America didn't get involved in the war, we wouldn't have all these problems with migration because, you know, it's the Jews doing it all and all this whack job ideas. And obviously one of the bad things that to come out of World War II for the British especially is that we essentially lost our empire and it went towards America because we spent so much money and lives on World War II. And it's not that Hitler was right, it's that the problem was Hitler is the enemy or the villain in the picture. He's not the hero, he's the villain. Because if he wasn't such a wrong-un, if he was just a normal, competent leader, we wouldn't have had World War II and we wouldn't have had all the problems. You know, Britain wouldn't got involved in a stupid war, but we had to get involved because it was the right thing to do. And a lot of people on the right like to make out, you know, that Hitler was a right-wing, sensible person. But if you look at Tick History, he does a lot of good videos. He explains how Hitler was essentially a socialist, a hardcore socialist / communist. That's why the Nazis were the National Socialists. And all socialist communists, they destroy freedom for their citizens. And anybody who goes against liberty and freedom is purveying evil. Okay, so now I've clarified exactly why the Nazis are evil. I just want to re-clarify what went wrong since is that we have failed to protect liberty and freedom. The most important thing for us as people is to fight for liberty and freedom. And what went wrong since World War II is we have slowly been subverted. As Yuri Bezmenov said, it's ideological subversion by the communists. And where this communism is coming from, you can see it growing. I mean, Russia's more autocratic, but they have a history and they're sort of communist. The Chinese are communist. The European Union now are communist. The World Economic Forum promotes communism. So all of the powers of the world are promoting communism. And that ideology is our enemy. And where we've failed is we've allowed ourselves to be subverted. And this is what Yuri Bezmenov warned about. He said, you have to fight back against communism with patriotism and sensible patriotism, not weirdo patriotism like Hitler promoted. So the World War II veterans, they didn't fail. They succeeded. What went wrong is we have failed every generation since of not maintaining and protecting freedom, and we've been subverted. And how we can correct that is we just push back against the subversion, as many people are doing now, but we have to use the power of the spirit. That's what people don't realize. And that's what I am working to on this channel. And before I finish the video, I always like to do an analogy, and let's look back at, and it's very relevant to today, just as the communism debate is relevant, is Islam. You could look at the UK today or Europe today and see the rise of Islam, and we're being subverted by Islam and Muslims flooding into the West. But if you look back, this happened previously, and that's why the Crusades were set up. So the Crusades were set up and they pushed Islam back out of Europe, and the Reconquista, we reclaimed Europe as completely Christian and European. And it was a brilliant battle and a noble venture. And we've messed up by allowing Islam to subvert us again. Exactly the same thing as we've happened with communism, we've allowed with Islam. Exactly identical. Now, if you look back and say, oh, the Crusades fought the wrong side, or why did the Crusades do what they did? Look what's happened to us now. The Crusades were wrong. You look back and say, what a stupid concept. And it's exactly the same with the Nazis. Because we've been subverted now with communism and socialism and all this weirdo Marxism, and our countries have been flooded with the Great Replacement, just because that's messed up, we don't look back and say, oh, we shouldn't have fought the wrong socialists back then. No, we should have fought them then, and we must fight them now. The problem is the 60, 70, 80 years in between, people have lost their due diligence, and we've allowed ourselves to be subverted. And what we need to do, as I said, we just need to push back against the subversion, use the power of the spirit, of the logos, of the Christ, and use sensible patriotism, sensible ethno-nationalism, where we realize that our countries are for the native people, but we also love and support good migrants who want to join us in limited numbers, because no people should be replaced in their country. You know, that's how we push back. We must push back with the power of the spirit and promote liberty and freedom. What we shouldn't do is follow all these whack job Nazi sympathizers, such as Nick Fuentes or Steve Laws. They're wrong uns. They don't know what they're talking about. I think they're mostly ignorant, and they just need to learn a bit more history and spiritually awaken more. But they're promoting these sort of national socialist ideas again. But again, that doesn't promote freedom and liberty. And it doesn't reflect the Father and the Christ, the logos, which is the spirit of righteousness. To win this war, we must use the spirit of righteousness and create liberty and freedom for people of their countries and people of the world. And that's what the main focus should be. Anybody who doesn't promote liberty and freedom and the Father and the logos, the spirit of Christ, is the enemy. You know, the Chinese communists don't promote freedom. National socialists don't promote freedom. The Islamic Caliphate doesn't promote freedom. They all promote domination and humanity being subservient to evil rather than subservient to the Father God. And I've always said liberty and freedom is the greatest gift that God gave us, and that's our birthright. And to finish the video, this is why, as I said before, I've seen videos of people going around all the countries of the world speaking to people, and they always say to people, if you could live in any other country, where would you live? And they ask Russians, they ask Ukrainians, they ask Chinese, they ask Japanese, they ask Indians, they ask Pakistanis. And virtually all people of all countries say, America is the place they would choose to live. And if you just look at migration around the world, most people want to live in America or Europe because we are the countries with the most freedom. And that's why it's important that we protect these freedoms. And freedom must be freedom under God's law and God's divine rules, not freedom to live in degeneracy. This is one of the reasons we've fallen away, is because we've used our freedom for lusts and pleasure rather than for family, God, service, and noble visions. And this is why people want to live in America and generally Britain before we got corrupted. Nobody wants to live in an Islamic hellhole. Nobody wants to live under communist rule. Nobody wants to live under socialism. Nobody wants to live in countries that can't and fail to build healthy civilizations. Okay, so that's the point of my video today. I just wanted to put it out there because I see a lot of revisionism about World War II, and most people are talking absolute rubbish. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're very ignorant and dangerous people. And at this time, the world is in a very, very dangerous place, and it's important that we listen to wise people, not influencer clowns. Okay, so if you're interested in following sensible views from what I see myself as I'm more of a wise person rather than a social media clown, join this movement. In the new year, I'm going to change the name of this channel. I've got ideas for my personal channel and this channel of being of service, and to really kick forward with these ideas that I've been talking about in these videos and some others. So it will be a positive venture going forward that's going to make real world change, not people just sitting around making money off YouTube as an influencer, creating drama. It's a serious movement that can make positive change in our world, and it won't be about depressing people or demoralizing people that most of YouTube does. It's like, broken Britain, oh, this has gone wrong today, another migrant has done this, oh, look what Keir Starmer did today, just bitching and moaning. I'm not interested in bitching and moaning anymore. 2026 has got to be the year of positivity, pushing back against the demoralization, and using the power of the Spirit, the logos to Christ, and the love of the Father to create change in our world. No more moaning, more action. So if you're interested in all this stuff I'm talking about, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned because a lot more is coming in the next weeks, months, and years. And like the video, share it, all the good stuff. God bless everybody today. Goodbye.